Okay, ready.
Ready.
As Disney loses 12 million subscribers, and Disney Plus loses $512 million, which was only seen as a success because it was projected to lose $758 million. Disney is not in a good place. But from this disaster, one shining light, one beacon of hope, beams through the darkness of bankruptcy to save Disney. Ahsoka, ladies and gentlemen, guaranteed financial success. A story about strong, independent, ambiguous individuals who go on a mission to hunt down microaggressors. Now, I did actually say that on Twitter, as well as giving credit to the person who created this image, who then promptly blocked me. To this day, I only have one response. Was it something I said? Because if you've been watching this channel for any length of time, you'll know that this show is right up my street. I was a big fan of Willow that then got cancelled after one season and deleted from Disney Plus. And when it comes to She-Hulk, well, I'm She-Hulk's biggest fan. I might be the only fan. And if you like that t-shirt screwed up, did you find that under a box? Yes. But this is no coincidence, no accidental move. This female-focused Star Wars series, the female-led cast, actually makes history, according to one of the stars. I mean, despite the fact that this is just all of Hollywood, which explains why she didn't even notice it was unusual, still, somehow, makes it really revolutionary. This is really revolutionary because we didn't even need to talk about it, because these characters transcend being human beings.
No, it's so great to have a show that's sort of female-led like this. It sort of transcends gender. It's Star Wars.
And I would say you may want to think about that, about the idea that you really don't need to talk about it, because all anybody seems to be doing is talking about it, including Kathleen Kennedy. She actually says that she's done this in order to bring balance to the Force. It explains why it's thrilling to put Type Bs front and center. I think we've attracted some really strong voice twos, both in front of the camera and behind it. It's been thrilling. I'm just as thrilled as you are, love, and I'm not the only one. Bob Iger has come out and said that Disney will reduce the cost of its films and TV shows, and what an absolutely 200 IQ play it was to do that via the wage gap. Paying someone 70 cents on the dollar certainly going to keep those costs down, although if you're only getting 10% of the revenue for it, maybe a bit of a false economy there, love. Now, it is unfortunate that after that he said he wanted to focus on quality, but you know, 1 out of 2 ain't bad, and at the end of the day, you get what you pay for. But Disney have been pulling out all the stops to advertise this show. You can buy merch for a show that isn't even out yet, and you better believe I'll be doing my part. I mean, have you seen the trailer for this show? It's excited me no end. This show is revolutionary, alright, because we get to explore new hidden parts of the Star Wars universe that we've never thought about before. Like, what type of intellectual conversation do female Jedi have in their downtime?
Nice haircut.
That was the instant I knew that this show was made for me. It even features the least enthusiastic person known to man.
Can I make a difference?
You already have, and will continue to do Ahsoka.
I don't know if that's an AI, or whether the guy just has never experienced an emotion in his life. Either way, with deadpan delivery like that, I felt right at home.
Hope is not lost.
Now, the show does seem to have some continuity problems.
There's so few Jedi left.
I don't know about that, love. With every passing day, it seems like more Jedi survived Order 66. But as the trailer launches in the most predictable way possible, desperately trying to claw at nostalgia,
Anakin, the galaxy is still filled with darkness.
it does at least acknowledge that these characters are facing an uphill battle if they actually want to make money on this show.
She's coming.
We have to prepare for the worst.
Now, I do think it's a problem when their main villain appears to be Elon Musk.
If we don't stop Thrawn, everything will be in vain.
I understand you may not have liked him renaming Twitter to X, but come on, did you have to make an entire series about it? And it looks like, despite being a first for Disney, where they actually talk about morality, even implying there might actually be good and evil in the world,
Sometimes we have to do what's right, regardless of our personal feelings.
we still get the typical insufferable main character, who despite being complimented,
Anakin spoke highly of you.
just decides to be an arse in response.
I'm not here to discuss my past.
Although I can partially sympathise, after all, this isn't the Whatever podcast. Look, she's got tentacles on her face, nobody has time for her to count. And when the show itself has been called an actual religious experience by Dave Filoni himself, how could this show be anything other than amazing? Let's find out. Now, you may be thinking, when somebody talks about one of their creations as a religious experience, they put a lot of effort and time into the creation of it. This was something they planned out for years. Not in this case, where Filoni said that it's honestly not something I plan, I just needed needed a samurai, and I have Ahsoka, so I've been telling her story. Now, it is interesting when he goes, it's important that they're relatable to everybody, and then we find out who everybody actually is. He says, I know it's significant that there's so many body type 3s in these films, and I think that's wonderful. If that inspires people who would have said, that's not for me, or I can't do that, then that's even better. You want this to be a time of inclusion. Who are we including? People who can't actually relate to another human being unless it's them. Why would we even care about the opinion of someone who's so intellectually feeble that they can't see the world from somebody else's perspective? If the important thing is that they're relatable to everybody because everybody can relate on a human level to basic experiences, then why would there ever be people that go, I can't do that, I need to see myself in a movie? And if those people exist, why would you pander to them when all they're trying to do is make a mental deficiency into their virtue? Why would you ever want to include everybody in Star Wars? Because that will inevitably include people who hate Star Wars and want it destroyed. I don't know, just doesn't seem like a very good business strategy to me.
War is inevitable.
Then it gets really strange when we start to ask the Ahsoka actress which characters she wants back in the live-action fold, and she chooses the Martez sisters because they were the original Latinas that she got to see out there. Do you realize you're acting in a Star Wars property, and therefore nobody is Latina in Star Wars? Earth doesn't even exist in the Star Wars universe, let alone a specific geographic location, love. But don't worry, that's not the most stupid thing she said.
I feel like I manifested this role, so I'm just throwing it out there to keep manifesting.
No, not that either. When she went on to say, okay, we're here, and we're taking up space. Given that all the actors and writers are on strike now for more money, I just think we should draw attention to what they actually think is required in the role. Just taking up space. I physically exist on the planet and move oxygen molecules out of the way of my mass. I'm sorry, I just don't think you have very high standards. I could be dead and still taking up space, love.
What has been the most surprising aspect of working in this galaxy far, far away?
It's not a job.
And then we've got the other people's choices. Winstead chose Princess Leia as a kid, because, you know, Kenobi was such a massive success that everybody really enjoyed. And Anna Sato really loves Rey, that really popular character that absolutely didn't destroy a franchise. Yeah, we definitely need to get more Rey back. Oh, yeah, that is actually Kathleen Kennedy's plan, isn't it? I'd forgot about that. And then we got Ray Stevenson, who, when asked which of the animated characters would you like to see in live action, clearly couldn't think of any. We've all been there. You get asked a tough question by your boss, and so you just start waffling some random crap. That's why he didn't name any specific character, and instead asked for a new type of body type 1 character to emerge. One with divine feminine energy. Apparently, he thinks there's a divinity to women who take up the mantle of warrior because of men's weaknesses, especially leaning towards extreme violence and stuff like this. One of men's weaknesses is their ability for violence as a warrior. It's literally the entire point of being a warrior, you lunatic. You're supposed to be the antagonist, and yet you're scared of being too violent.
I think the fans are just gonna eat this all up. I really do.
All I'm saying is it's a really good job these actors have gone on strike, because the only way these shows are ever going to stand a possibility of being a success is when they shut their mouths. But in these people, it's to protect their family or their planet or whatever. They've had to adopt that mantle, so it's fine when they do it, but when men do it, it's a weakness. Right, love? It doesn't necessarily have to be that malevolent side of men. Getting in touch with the divine feminine, I think there's not one character, but I think that sense of divine feminine needs to come through. What are you talking about? What interesting proposition? Who wrote this? So there you have it. The main antagonist thinks that when men become warriors, that's a malevolent side, but when the other side do it, that's all fine and perfect. In fact, that's divine. At this point, I tried to conduct an interview with somebody of the divine masculine, but unfortunately he was in the kitchen making a sandwich, so was unable to comment.
You would think something that at this level people might be stressed out at the pressure of it, and it's the opposite.
But what can you expect from Ahsoka in this new series? Well, Lord of the Rings? I wish I was joking. In the animation, you saw Ahsoka go to the white, but I loved that the idea that there was another level to her. Dave and I talked a lot about Gandalf the Grey and Gandalf the White, talking about that change and how she's someone who's very capable and excellent and looked up to as a leader, but she still has levels of development to go. That's actually my hope for the series, that Ahsoka could die at the end of one of the episodes and come back as Ahsoka the Tartan. If she dies again, it'll be Ahsoka the Polka Dot. Now, when the series begins, Ahsoka Ahsoka is lonely. She's a lone wolf, but fortunately, she's not alone for long. She soon reunites with accomplished fighters.
She faced a lot of demons. She faced herself.
And Twi'lek captains, who are both strong leaders and fighters, but also maternal and nurturing. Is she really that maternal and nurturing unless she's at home with the children? How maternal are you as a military general whose job it is to kill people? You'll have to let me know. We don't often see that depicted on screen. I can't imagine why. We see army generals being those very masculine and hard figures, because that's what's required for the job to do it properly and correctly. If you're maternal and nurturing, it doesn't really lead you to slaughtering people. I don't know why this is a complicated thing to grasp. I can be perfect at everything isn't an option for humanity. But Hero has that, but she's also got this softness to it. Well, she'd be a terrible general then. Very easily defeated in war, aren't they? The soft.
It's everything you can want in a Star Wars project.
Literally, one of the points of being in the army is it stops you being soft. Soft people, not very good for war, largely because you get defeated by the other guy who isn't. But the show pits Ahsoka against not just one villain, but a whole host of villains, such as the strong and independent Morgan Elsbeth, who was inspired by historical figures like Julius Caesar or Catherine the Great. According to the census of 1754, Catherine the Great owned 500,000 serfs. Well, that'll be an interesting plotline to see in Ahsoka. But besides all the little side villains, there's one final villain that Ahsoka will face. The Elon lookalike Thrawn. He's brutal, but he's not stupid. He must have got some of that divine femininity. But bringing Thrawn into live action was a challenge because, given that he was covered in thick paint, they weren't sure that in his makeup that Thrawn's menace would truly work in a live action setting. So he really had to see it in the camera. He was quite amazed as soon as his red eyes glinting in the stage lights. I wonder if it was this scene from the trailer that made him realize Thrawn's menace.
Stop Thrawn. Everything will be in vain.
Gotta be honest, I can't see it myself. But despite that, how could Ahsoka not be a massive success to save Disney from the destruction of their recent losses? Because when Ahsoka premieres later this month, it will debut with a built-in audience. Everybody loves Star Wars. It will presumably attract the legions of young Star Wars fans who grew up with Clone Wars and Rebels and the sequel trilogy and Kenobi, Boba Fett. Whenever I think of a young audience, I think they're Star Wars fans through and through. They've only grown up with the best of content, and that's why they're going to be hungry for the next chapter. Didn't you know Andor drew a massive new audience? I don't know about that one. Have you considered telling the Telegraph? Andor is a flop by Star Wars standards, and Disney doesn't care. It's taken Star Wars in a gritty, grown-up direction that fans craved. So why aren't they watching it? Maybe it was because it was so boring that my mind felt like it could transcend to another dimension, just in a desperate hope so that it could find something to do. But they think the problem with Ahsoka isn't that it won't have an audience, but it's got to please too many people. It's got to get new viewers while also satisfying hardcore fans. And that has been a challenge of the series. But Dave has been very thoughtful and crafted the narrative to invite people in and tell them everything they need to know along the way. Maybe it's like Gotham Knights, where they just repeat the entire story of the entire series every episode. Or maybe these people are perfect and the key to everything just isn't that complicated to understand. But despite whether the audience are going to enjoy it or not, the cast and the crew had fun, as this was a show made by Star Wars fans, for Star Wars fans, fans of what Star Wars. Because I would suggest if you looked at Star Wars and then thought, we've got to include everybody in this because they've been excluded from that and couldn't see themselves performing in it, you weren't really that much of a fan in the first place, as you wanted it changed. But no, every single person on set is a huge Star Wars fan that goes to Star Wars Celebration. So does that mean that they're getting an Ahsoka Season 2? Well, if that comes next, I'd be really excited and grateful. Let's face it, love, if Obi-Wan didn't get a second series, you're not going to. Do you think you're going to get more viewers than Obi-Wan? Even disregarding the quality of either series, do you think you've got the name recognition? She really hopes that the fans love it, because we've honoured the legacy of this character and this journey, just not Star Wars itself. I mean, how could we, when we thought there was something wrong with Star Wars, and it needed to be changed because we needed to bring balance to it. But apparently Ahsoka is a show about everything, including all of the contradictions. This is a female-focused Star Wars series that isn't female-focused and transcends gender.
No, it's so great to have a show that's sort of female-led like this. It sort of transcends gender. It's Star Wars.
While also having main characters talk about the malevolence of men and saying that that can be fixed by divine femininity. But no, it's not about that. No, this show is about the Type Bs who have to take up the mantle because of Type A's weaknesses. But it's not about that. It just all all reeks of people who want to say something, but no, the audience despises it. But we're gonna force it down your throat when it comes to the TV series, so instead, we're gonna tell you it's everything that you want.
I think the fans are just gonna eat this all up. I really do.
It's about all this stuff that it's simultaneously not about, because we know that's not what you want, and we desperately need viewers because Star Wars doesn't have any. But Star Wars has a huge fan base, except nobody's watching any of their stuff. And I can't help thinking that in a time where Disney keeps losing money, this is just going to be another show where it happens all over again. But those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video, subscribe for more videos like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.